Welcome to the Aging Well podcast, where we explore the science, stories, and strategies behind living a longer, healthier, and more purposeful life. I am your host, Dr. Jeff Armstrong. In this episode, I'm going to introduce you to a Jesuit priest, a Darwinian paleontologist, and a philosopher, and a secret that the biohackers, longevity experts, and influencers, and even the theologians get wrong about eternal life. I will share my thoughts on why aging well is a spiritual problem and not an issue of fixing one's biology. We have people who literally spend millions of US dollars in pursuit of eternal life. Ponce de Leon never found it. Neither will the Bryan Johnsons of the world. Why? Because they don't know where to look. Biohacking, longevity, health span. What are we missing? I'll come to that. First, what is biohacking and why am I opposed to using the term? Biohacking is a broad term that refers to the practice of making intentional changes to one's biology to improve physical or mental performance, health, or well-being. This can range from simple lifestyle changes like diet, exercise, or sleep optimization to more experimental approaches like nootropics, wearable tech, genetic testing, or even implantable devices. At its core, biohacking involves self-experimentation and using data-driven methods to optimize how the body and mind function. On the surface, this doesn't seem so bad. So why does it bother me? There are several critiques and arguments against biohacking depending on the context, whether it's ethical, medical, or philosophical. And here are some of the most prominent. First, it's an oversimplification of health. Biohacking often reduces complex biological and psychological systems to variables that can be hacked or optimized, ignoring the nuanced and interconnected nature of the body, mind, environment, and community. Human health isn't a machine with levers that you can pull at will. Treating it like software can lead to misguided expectations and unintended consequences. Many biohacking practices rely on anecdotal evidence, self-experimentation, or pseudoscientific claims rather than peer-reviewed research. Just because something works for one person doesn't mean it's safe or effective for others. Confirmation bias and placebo effects are often mistaken for real results. Biohacking blurs the line between enhancement and therapy, raising ethical questions about human augmentation, especially in areas like genetic editing or implantable tech. So who gets to access enhancement technologies? Will it create further health inequalities or even pressure people to modify themselves to stay competitive? There's also an obsession with optimization. Biohacking can promote a mindset of constant self-optimization, leading to anxiety, dissatisfaction, and even disordered behaviors. When being better becomes the goal, people may lose sight of what it means to simply be well or enough as they are. The biohacking industry often turns health into a product, something to be consumed or upgraded with supplements, devices, or services. This fuels a market-driven approach to well-being, where longevity or performance is bought rather than cultivated through meaningful living. Some biohacking methods, such as extreme fasting, off-label drug use, do-it-yourself gene therapy, can pose real health dangers. Experimenting with one's body without adequate knowledge or oversight can lead to harm, especially when the pursuit of enhancement overrides medical caution. So, in summary, critics like myself argue that biohacking often promises control over human biology without fully understanding the consequences, whether that's medically, ethically, or spiritually. Spiritually, we'll come back to this. Biohacking promises control over human biology. This implies that longevity and lifespan are only about living more years. At best, the only emphasis on quality is about health span. It is a purely biological approach. But as many in the medical community are beginning to learn, it's more than a biology problem to fix. Many are coming to realize it's not a biology solution, but a biopsychosocial solution. I've adopted this approach in my exercise science courses I teach. My friend, colleague, and biomechanist Dr. Lex Gidley corrected me, though, and pointed out that no, it is a biomechanical psychosocial solution. And this still only addresses health span. What about well span? If you're enjoying the Aging Well podcast, be sure to like, subscribe, or follow on your favorite platform so you will never miss an episode. And if you find our conversations helpful, please share the podcast with a friend, because aging is something we're all doing, and we're better at doing it together. And support our guests in this podcast financially by visiting the affiliate links in the episode description below, and use the links or codes provided for discounts on products we have vetted and feel comfortable recommending to our valued viewers and listeners. Thank you, and now back to the podcast. For most, WellSpan refers to a period of a person's life during which they are in good health, as opposed to simply being alive. It is a refinement of the concept of lifespan, which measures how long someone lives, by focusing instead on the quality of those years, specifically how long someone remains physically, mentally, and emotionally well. I would argue that this definition falls short, and that is why most longevity efforts fall short. While healthspan is about how long you live, WellSpan is about how well you live. WellSpan emphasizes independence, vitality, and resilience rather than survival. So healthspan versus WellSpan. The terms are sometimes used interchangeably, but WellSpan may include broader dimensions of well-being like purpose, connection, and mental health, not just the absence of disease. Many aging and longevity experts now argue that increasing WellSpan, not just lifespan, is the more meaningful goal. In short, WellSpan is the number of years you live with optimal well-being, not just the number of years you live. But do we really understand what this means? I contend that the majority of biohackers and longevity experts don't. At best, they consider aging well to be a biomechanical psychosocial problem to solve. I often refer to 6 pillars of aging well. These are exercise and physical activity, eating a balanced healthy diet, maintaining a healthy body composition, not smoking, maintaining good sleep hygiene, and purposeful social connections. I'm careful, though, not to make these the central theme of the Aging Well podcast. Why? Because these are only biomechanical psychosocial unless... This brings me to the well-centered fitness approach to longevity, the approach that biohackers don't quite get. We can fix our biology, maybe. But if we're spending millions of dollars to do so, what's the point? Who is it benefiting? What is missing in the biomechanical psychosocial model? This brings me to the Jesuit priest, the Darwinian paleontologist, and the philosopher I mentioned earlier. The Jesuit priest, Darwinian paleontologist, and philosopher are all one and the same. I am referring to Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. My regular viewers and listeners will probably recognize the name. I refer to him often on the We Have a Spiritual Problem podcast. Teilhard was a French Jesuit priest, paleontologist, and philosopher who sought to integrate science and spirituality, particularly through a Christian and evolutionary lens. He is best known for his visionary ideas about evolution of consciousness, the unity of creation, and the future of humanity. Teilhard believed that evolution was not only a biological process, but also a spiritual one, moving toward an increasing complexity and consciousness. He saw the universe as unfolding in a purposeful way, culminating in what he called the Omega Point, a state of ultimate unity with the divine. This is a term for the final stage of evolution, where humanity transcends its limitations and unites with God in a state of love, consciousness, and cosmic integration. It's both a scientific metaphor and a theological vision. Teilhard proposed that above the geosphere, the physical Earth, and the biosphere, life on Earth, there exists a new sphere, a sphere of human thought and consciousness. He believed this thinking layer is evolving as humanity becomes more interconnected. He attempted to reconcile Christian theology with Darwinian evolution, seeing Christ not as opposed to evolution, but as its fulfillment, what he called the cosmic Christ. Teilhard's ideas were often considered radical and speculative, especially by the Catholic Church. His works were suppressed during his lifetime, and he was forbidden to publish some of his theological writings. Many of his most influential texts, such as The Phenomenon on Man, were published posthumously. Though marginalized in his time, Teilhard de Chardin has since become a major influence on process theology, eco-theology, consciousness studies, and the spiritual interpretations of evolution. His work continues to inspire those seeking a unified vision of science, spirit, and human purpose. Teilhard saw the universe not just evolving biologically, but spiritually, toward deeper consciousness, unity, and divine fulfillment. I am a geologist turned exercise physiologist with a philosophical and a theological mindset. Aging well to me is more than biomechanical psychosocial. It is spiritual. There are no spiritual hacks. I don't rest the Aging Well podcast on the 6 pillars because aging well, longevity, lifespan, health span, well span, whatever you want to call it, is a spiritual problem. SPIES, another plug for my friend Jay here, SPIES is an acronym for well-centered fitness. It refers to the spiritual, physical, intellectual, emotional, and social dimensions of wellness. As my friend Jay pointed out to me, I always refer to these dimensions in a specific order. The order is intentional, but not to form an acronym. The acronym is just a cool after effect. I believe the physical and the spiritual are inseparable, much like Teilhard. Can we have longevity without a spiritual dimension? I think that's what the biohackers are seeking. This is why I don't see life as something to be hacked. Biohacking approaches like Bryan Johnson's Blueprint are ambitious, data-driven attempts to slow aging and extend health span through precise physical optimization, targeting everything from diet, exercise, and sleep to organ health and biological age. However, when evaluated through the SPIES framework, several gaps become apparent. Biohacking misses a deeper sense of meaning, transcendence, or connection beyond the self. Johnson's approach is rooted in control, measurement, and technological transcendence, but lacks engagement with the mystery, humility, and relational depth often found in spiritual traditions. Living longer and staying biologically young is not the same as living well in a spiritually rich and meaningful way. True well-being includes the capacity to orient toward something larger, whether God, the sacred, the cosmos, or moral calling. This is largely absent in the blueprint. Active engagement with diverse ideas, curiosity beyond self-optimization, or philosophical reflection. While Johnson tracks impressive amounts of data and is clearly a systems thinker, most of his intellectual energy is focused on self-experimentation rather than exploration of broader questions about society, ethics, or human flourishing. Intellectual wellness includes reflection, lifelong learning, and grappling with uncertainty, elements often missing in the tech or metrics-driven mindset. Absent in the biohacker's approach is vulnerability, emotional resilience, and inner life. Johnson's blueprint is heavily focused on inputs and outputs, not the inner dynamics of emotional experience, grief, joy, anxiety, forgiveness, love, and so on. Optimizing neurotransmitters and sleep cycles doesn't equate to developing emotional maturity, empathy, or self-compassion. Emotional wellness includes the capacity to experience, regulate, and grow through emotions, not just manage them biochemically. Other-centeredness, genuine, reciprocal community relationships. These are glaringly absent in the biohacker approach. Johnson's public persona often emphasizes self-sufficiency, control, and independence. His blueprint is extremely individualized, and while he interacts with a team, there's little focus on communal living, belonging, or interdependence. Humans are not solo optimization projects. They're shaped in and through relationships. Social wellness is about meaningful connection, shared vulnerability, and contributing to the well-being of others. Physical wellness? I'm disrupting the SPIES order here. Physical wellness is where Johnson excels. His blueprint meticulously tracks biomarkers, organ health, muscle mass, sleep quality, and more. However, even here, performance is often prioritized over presence or embodiment. The question isn't how optimized your body is, but whether you're at home in it. Bryan Johnson's blueprint is a compelling experiment in biological preservation, but it risks reducing human well-being to data points and algorithms. It lacks the depth, relationality, and mystery found in a well-centered, SPIES-informed vision of wellness. Without spiritual grounding, emotional wholeness, intellectual curiosity, and social connection, even the most biologically optimized life can feel empty. It is clear that one can extend lifespan through the blueprint and biohacks that many longevity experts are exploring, but not WellSpan without SPIES. As the evidence led us to add the sixth pillar, social connectedness, the understanding of the SPIES or well-centered fitness led us to emphasize purposeful social connectedness. The social dimension is the pinnacle of the well-centered fitness model. Social connectedness is essential for aging well. That became quite evident during the COVID-19 pandemic. Adding years to one's lifespan or health span are meaningless without purpose. Biohackers seek to add years to their life, but are they focused on adding life to the years? Consider why you are making intentional changes to your biology in the effort to improve your physical or mental performance, health, or well-being. Consider the words of Teilhard. We are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Remember this, and you will truly age well. Thank you for listening. I hope you benefited from today's podcast, and until next time, keep aging well.